Hi, this is Jeff Mapes. I'm senior political reporter at the Oregonian. I'm here with Denis Theriault. We've covered the Oregon Leadership Summit today. This is the big thing that the business community does every year. They bring in all the state's political leaders to talk with them, talk about issues. One of the big takeaways that I really had today was, I got to tell you, the business community really wants to talk about this ballot measure headed for the November ballot next year, sponsored by the state's major public employee unions and several other groups. It would raise taxes on large corporations by a whopping $2.6 billion a year. There's a lot of Democratic members of the legislature. They'd really rather not talk about it. This is kind of a divisive issue to them, splits off labor and business supporters. And one big exception to that was Peter Courtney, the Senate president, who in his very florid style compared what Oregon is headed into to the Civil War Battle of Antietam, the bloodiest battle of Civil War. He said this could be the bloodiest day in Oregon history, not just the tax measure, but several other divisive measures headed to the ballot, and said, something needs to be done on this. Kate Brown, the governor, also had some interesting things to say about that.
Well, she sidestepped mentioning this ballot measure. She did not talk about it in her keynote speech, but she did say Oregon needs revenue. She's worried about the state not having enough money for schools. But she also invoked the Oregon way, sort of what Senator Courtney did, but without some of the fire. He got a standing ovation. She did not, but she was pretty clear that something needs to be done. I talked to her a little bit after the speech, and she said she's talking with lawmakers, including Senator Mark Hass, about efforts to find a compromise for this measure. And she's basically looking at 20 plus years of ups and downs in the state's budget since measures 5 and 50, property tax reform measures, and says we need something that stabilizes the state's revenue.
Yeah, and I think the other thing on that we should mention before we go is on PERS. Once again, the business community is saying, boy, this is a real financial problem facing the state. We need to deal with that. Once again, an issue the Democrats weren't too wild about talking about. They're basically saying, we've tried twice, courts have struck down much of what we want to do, and we're not so wild about taking this up again. This was an issue that the governor did not talk about.
No, she did not talk about it, but you're right, Senator Courtney did.
Yeah.
Said we can't do this in the backs of public employee unions, but he also said we can't raise revenue in the backs of businesses, and we'll see where things land in February. It's going to be a pretty interesting 35-day session with a lot on the plate.
There you go. Thank you.